are you guys doing? Are you surviving? Oh, I'm hot. We didn't get to test. Ready? I got to be able to move. All right. So we are here. You're here with me till 2:45 today, so I don't feel like I have to run quite so fast through everything. Yes, I will give you a break. Don't leave. Right? Yes, that's nice. I'll put in my social media today. They cheered when I said I was giving a break. Signs of a good teacher, right? So I was thinking about today, and I'm doing things a little bit different today for you guys based on what I heard Pastor Tim talk about, and it just really spoke to me. And so I thought I'm going to try things a little bit different, and I hope I can get it all in. But the first thing I thought about was it just takes one, right? It just takes one person to move someone in a direction that they didn't know they were going, right? And the power of one is so powerful. And you can be the voice and vessel that speaks to a child. And I thought I wanted to start today with you just sharing with the person next to you, just one person that moved you throughout your life. Like, was there a powerful teacher, a powerful church official? Was there someone that lived near you that just spoke to you and helped you along your journey? Because every one of us has had a journey, and a lot of them have twists and turns, and there are points of low and there are points of high. But there's always seems to be someone there at the right time and the right moment. And so I thought, could you just share with the person next to you, who was that just one person that you could think of throughout your journey? So I'm going to give you a few minutes just to talk to the person next to you.
I'm not going to plug it in, but I need to...
We won't need it until later.
Huh?
I don't need it till later.
Okay.
So we can plug it in.
It could be plugged into that one.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
going to be like this.
During the break.
We haven't tested it, but...
During the break, we'll test.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Just one. Did everybody get to share the story, or did somebody overtalk? All right. Anyone willing to stand up and share either your story or your partner's story with the rest of the group, just so you could hear the power of one person? Right back here. Yep, you. Mm-hmm.
Me?
Yeah, you.
My third grade teacher was the bomb. I loved her and I wanted to be just like her, and she's the reason I'm a teacher today. And I cry when I think about her because my mom was a single parent and we went to Adventist school, but it was hard for her to pay tuition for us. And so my third grade teacher would buy my uniforms, she would buy shoes for me, so my mother didn't have to pay for so many kids to go to school and all the uniforms and all those things, because it was 4 of us. And I'm friends with her today on Facebook, and I see her all the time, and she watches me as I'm in my educational journey. And it was my third grade teacher, Miss Provost, who was a person that I'll never, never, never forget.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Right down here.
Well, I went to public school, and I felt like a failure whenever I was a kid, and I hated school. And my fifth grade teacher wanted to fail me, but when I went to sixth grade, I found out I was having another male teacher, and I just was dreading it. But it turned out to be this man named Mr. Harder, and he spelled his name with a heart, E-R, and he just loved us. And he just had this wonderful way about him, and he just kept giving me these little notes of encouragement throughout the year, and by the time the year ended, I felt like I was kind of smart. And then I ended up, later on in high school, they put me in this college track, and I ended up in this class, like, for the advanced kids, and I said to the teacher the first day, I said, I'm not supposed to be in this class. She said, yeah, you are. I said, no. And I was the first person in my family to have a master's degree. I ended up writing a paper about this man, and I took the paper and I sent it to him as an adult, and he contacted me, and we stayed in contact for a lot of years, and he just completely changed my life. And I don't even know to this day if he had a relationship with God, but I'm a teacher because of him, and I will never forget him. He was amazing.
Awesome. Anyone else have a story to share?
Mine was the 10th grade teacher. His name is Don Beitler. He was the math teacher. And when I moved to the United States in 1998, I didn't speak English, but I went to a public school. And they didn't put me through the bilingual program because they said that because of my transcripts and my grades from 9th grade, they said, oh, you fit right in with all the Americans and speak English. And I'm like, okay.
Except it wasn't okay. It was a different word, right?
Math for me was easy because math is easy in every single language. It's the same thing as long as you know how to do the numbers and to plug them in. And I was in Algebra 1 class, in his class. And then the story problems came. And that just hit me because I did not understand the context of the problem. So what he did every day after class, after school, he stayed with me and he drew on the board the story out. So he will say, boss number 1 is here and boss number 2 is here. And I will know how to solve the problem, but I didn't understand the context. So to me, he was somebody that I looked up to, and I just wanted his classroom was always quiet. Nobody was late to his class. Everybody loved him, and he was nice. And when it was when the teacher appreciation week was, I found him on Facebook, and I sent him a message, and I said, I don't know if you remember me. I don't know, because it's been a lot of years passed by, but I just want to let you know that I appreciate for what you did for me back in 1998. And he wrote me back. I was like waiting. I was, like a little kid, waiting. And then I just hear my phone click. And I was like, yes, he responded. So he responded, and he said, no, I remember who you are, and I will never forget how I drew for you after class every day. So to me, that was, him. I did not become a teacher because of him. I became a teacher because of my Spanish teacher, and that's why I'm a Spanish teacher. The way she explained Spanish and the way she did it, it was so fun, and that's why I want to make it fun for my students.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So did you notice teachers were the top of most stories? And I didn't give you that direction. I didn't say think of a teacher. I just said give me one person who had the power to speak to you in your life that moved you in a direction. And we are all that one for somebody. I always tell teachers, wow, we would have so much energy if we had a crystal ball and we could look into the future and see what words, when, and how it moves someone. It would give us the energy to keep going when it gets really, really hard. I'm just here to remind you today that you are that just one for someone. You've been that just one in the past, and you'll continue to be that one in those moments of need. And your kids are so lucky. They're so lucky to have you, but don't lose sight of that just one person that influenced you and the fact that you have the power and the opportunity to be that one person for kids. Yesterday, Pastor Tim talked, I just have to tell you, I don't know if he calls himself Pastor Tim, but when he was speaking, I was trying to think, okay, I got to remember this man's name. He's really good. And so then I was thinking Pastor Tim, and then the episode of The Middle struck me. Anyone? No, Reverend Tim Tom? So those two images are in my head. Sorry, I just got sidetracked. But he said, we're not teaching subjects. He said, we're teaching students. And I think more than teaching students, I think we're growing disciples. And I think that's really what your calling is. Yes, you're teaching a subject to help them get there, but it is a big wrapped package of everything put together. And so you have to be a person of faith and speak it and know it, but you also have to have a piece of your content. But more than piece of a content, you have to understand whole kids and all those pieces that make up a kid. I had several people come up to me after session yesterday and talking about specific things. And so many times I was, saying things like, don't forget who they are. We get so caught up in the way school used to operate, where there were four walls, there were rules, there were consequences, and they were teaching subjects. I want you to move in that direction of teaching kids to be all that they can be, so that they can be the disciples we want them to be as we go forward. And so to do that, we have to think further than rules and consequences. And page 47 of the workbook, it's got to be much bigger than that. Not a cute calling. I tell people all the time, there are a lot of hard jobs in this world. But this one is a true calling, because it's every day. And it's every day there's an opportunity, and no one calls you on the phone and says, hey, be on point today, because there's a kid that really needs you. You think you're teaching page 47, but there's an opportunity for you to teach deeper, for you to teach far more than just page 47. And so that's an awesome responsibility, but an awesome opportunity as well. And so I wanted to give you some tools to help you think whole child. Your children, they're headed for a world that's different. The future looks different. Our pre-K babies from 2019, they started this year. They will graduate in the spring of 2033. I know, some of us are like, I will not be here. Thank you, Lord, right? But our job is to prepare them for 2033 and beyond, right? So we have the faith piece, but we also have to have them operating and functioning in the world of 2033. What does that look like? Oh, I don't know. I mean, right now, we have refrigerators that will tell you what they need while you're standing at Walmart. Cars will park themselves. Well, we don't have those. We're teachers. We can't afford those things. But other people have those things. The technology in the world and the things that are happening, the world is moving fast. And so we have to prepare kids to operate in that world. We have to be careful not to help them participate in the world that we were trained to work in, which is factory-driven, follow directions, do as we say, don't think outside the box. 2023, you better think outside the box, because everything routine and easy will be done by automation. So all of those will be gone. You better help kids work their brains to think different. Think outside the box. They also have to be able to communicate and collaborate, because that's going to be the one difference between them and artificial intelligence. So they have to be able to talk. Wait a minute, I've been telling them to be quiet. But I gotta tell them how to communicate their subject and their understanding, so that a way that they can make somebody else understand. That's a skill they're gonna need in 2033. So I've gotta build these skills while building their faith and merge it together so that we create the best disciples possible, right? And when I think about that, I think about these skills. These are what they call soft skills or social and emotional learning. Raise your hand if you've read a blog, listened to a podcast, or seen a meme about social and emotional intelligence, right? So they call them soft skills, and then some research calls them non-cognitive skills, as if they are soft and not hard, or you don't need a brain to do them. I think that is ridiculous. So I renamed these skills to be Thrive skills, because I think these are the skills that make or break a kid when they're struggling in my classroom learning content, or being able to sit near someone and function, or be able to play on the playground. And to grow good disciples, I think they need these skills. So these skills are not the bubble test of the public schools, right? There's no bubble test that checks for these. And there's no one who's teaching just this class. We'll send them to third grade. They'll go to the class of social and emotional intelligence. They'll come out having all of these things. Doesn't work like that. Because kids, have you seen the little meme that says kids pop like popcorn at different times? Kids' skills come to them at different times. Now, I've seen schools try to school these things because these are important. These are the difference sometimes between success and failure of math or reading. You agree? It's not about the math skill. It's about their perseverance. It's not about the math skills. It's about the fact that they can't communicate what they don't understand. It's not about the reading skills. It's about the fact that they don't have hope and optimism that they can learn it. So these skills can make or break the traditional skills that I'm teaching in the classroom. But we try to school sometimes. I've seen schools come in and go, okay, so in first grade, they'll learn executive functioning. In second grade, we'll move on to optimism. And by third grade, you'll do that. You cannot school this. You can't make objectives. You can't just print out a teacher packet and call it done. These, to me, are the difference to help my kids be the best humans possible. And I think if we're going disciples, we'll all agree we want them to be the best humans possible. And so to do that, we have to come up with a way to make it there. So I and the smartest person I know, because here's what happened. I was doing a keynote like this in a national conference. A publisher came up and said, we want real ideas to help teachers learn to do this in their class naturally. And I said, okay. And then I went out and found the smartest person I know and said, well, help me write a book, because I use my resources, right? And so we put together a book called Teaching Kids to Thrive. And am I advertising the book? Sure, go buy the book. It's on Amazon. You can find it. You can order it right now. But more than that, they ask us to do activities for K through 12 that go with each of the skills. And being who we are, Dr. Silver and I put together a ton of resources. And then the publisher said, you have too many resources. Because I'm a teacher and I overdo things. And so we put all the extra activities on the website for free. So you can buy the book and get lots of great material and lots of exercises, but you can also run into every resource, every website, every video clip that will help with each of these skills, that we've made them available for you. So all you have to do is go explore for free. But in that journey, we realized that these skills are not skills to be taught in isolation. They were a culture to create. You have to create a Thrive culture if you're going to grow good disciples. And so to do that, we have to walk and talk, not only the word, but those skills. And we have to see when a kid is missing one and then help them build that up. How many of you know a kid who needs help with executive functioning or self-regulation? How many of you know an adult that still needs help with self-regulation? Right? So we have to notice when they have deficits and we have to help them build them. And so today at for the first part, I wanted to talk about creating this culture that promotes those mindsets and self-efficacy. One, some people say, oh, it doesn't matter what's on your walls and halls. I disagree. I think if your walk's going to match your talk, there should be visual things that tell kids these are important. So where in your room have you published the message of growth mindset or self-efficacy or believing in yourself? Where have you promoted these things? We want to make sure we take the time to do that. I think from there we have to look at our policies and procedures and make sure they don't clash with what we're saying. Have you heard the term process praise? If you've never heard that term, write it down, Google it. There's tons of YouTube videos. But there's a way in which we praise kids that will either build up social and emotional skills or enable them. And I have to say I'm as guilty of it as anyone because I was a 1980s child, 70s and 80s child. And so everyone did this. Good job. You're great. And that's all they would tell me. But process praise is the reality of telling kids exactly what it is they're doing well so that they will keep doing that well. And so that they'll understand that's a skill they have. So process praise is a really important piece of getting these great disciples that we're working on. Purposeful planning and talking about how the brain learns. And opportunities for metacognition. Thinking about thinking is one way of thinking. There's factual smart, and there's metacognition. Metacognition is you're thinking about how you're thinking. And that ability actually strengthens every other type of learning. The smarter you get about how you learn, the smarter you learn, basically. In a world where uncertainty and trauma are increasing, many students come to us, to school weighed down by concerns that render them mentally, emotionally unprepared for learning. When you have kids walk in your room and you've got a lesson and you're ready to go and you're excited and they're tuned out, it may be what's happening at night or in the morning before they ever walk in your door. We have to be aware of that. We can't get so caught up in that teaching that subject that we're not growing good disciples. And that means knowing what's going on before they reach me. Digging deeper, asking questions, not just going, where's your pencil? Give me a shoe. Here's your pencil. Instead of understanding, right? You trade a shoe for a pencil. Somebody's like, write that down. That's a good skill. No, it's not. It smells. Then you become a whole store system. But some kids that don't show up with a pencil or have their head down and tuned out, it's because they've gotten to about, they're only handling what they can handle at this moment. And we have to know that. We have to dig deeper. We have to ask questions. We have to pray with them. We have to pray for them. We have to be there to understand who they are and where they're at and how I can help them on their journey. Because remember, if you're going to be just that one, you can't be teaching subjects. You got to be growing kids. So let's talk about some of these skills. I want to make sure we all have the same language and the same understanding of that. And to start with that, it's grit, tenacity, perseverance. I don't care what you call it. Some people call it grit. Some people call it tenacity. Some people call it perseverance. But it's the ability to see the marathon. Some kids struggle with the ability to see what we're doing today will get them where they need to be in the long run. And so to do that, we have to help them build those skills. How many of you know a kid who can do it in the moment, but doesn't see how all the bricks are adding up? Right? So seeing their long run, getting them to that end is huge. The two people who have done the most research with this is Angela Duckworth and Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck actually coined the phrase growth mindset. Angela Duckworth made a fortune by coining the phrase grit. Some people have had a problem with some of the research that Angela Duckworth goes into. I'll just claim that out loud. And some of them say, well, you know what? Our kids don't need grit. My kids are gritty enough. They fight in the street every day to get here. That's grit. But what I'd like you to think about is the fact that can you be gritty in one area and not in another? Right? So they can be street smart. They can have survival. But when it comes to doing a math problem, they don't have any grit. They give up. They quit. They don't see it as the piece to get them through the marathon. They don't have the perseverance to get there. And so these two women have put together 2 books. And what I want you to do is not give up on the word grit, because I believe grit is just a fancy bow word that says kids need growth mindset. They need effortful control, and they need self-efficacy to be powerful. To be able to tackle the things in which they're going to encounter, to learn the things they have to learn, they have to have all 3 of these pieces. And Angela just gave it a nice little word, grit. And everybody jumped on. And then, when everybody gets excited about something, then everybody wants to shoot a hole in it. So that's how I believe we got there. But Carol Dweck talks about what she calls growth mindset. Raise your hand if you've heard of the word growth mindset. So I have to tell you, I've been talking about growth mindset since we first started doing research for the book, and I have oftentimes teachers who say, well, I taught growth mindset to my 7th graders in September, but it's March, and they are not using growth mindset, so it doesn't work. Again, it's a culture to create. This is not a one-stop lesson, check it off the box and say you're done. Kids need to hear you talk about growth mindset and fixed mindset on a regular basis in all grades. When you're reading this, you're going to recognize yourself in some of these points, and you're going to recognize people you know in your family. In fact, you might be looking going, purple, that's my mom. There's the problem. Fixed mindset. But again, just like grit, I believe you can be growth mindset in some areas and fixed mindsets in another. When it comes to learning, I have a growth mindset. When it comes to health and wellness, I'm a little fixed, right? So everybody has strengths and weaknesses, but I can assure you, no one wants to be on the purple side. I've never had a teacher come up to me and say, looking at that list, I'm fixed mindset and I like it. Everyone wants to be growth mindset. But I think just recognizing with kids that growth mindset is a way of thinking, a way of approaching, a way of dealing with things, we help them understand it's not just them. How many of you have kids who probably have very fixed mindset families? Right? That's their example. Where are my math teachers? Ever heard somebody say, I can't do math? And more than likely, someone in their family has also said, I can't do math. So that's reinforcing a fixed mindset. Some of them have examples of fixed mindset people in their family who reinforce it in lots of ways. So I think more than anything, if we're going to grow great students, we need to start helping them see it's a way of thinking and to get there. So how does this work in school? Well, let me just tell you, this is about to get personal. Some of you are going to realize you have a little fixed mindset in you, even though you look at this and you think, no, I'm growth, I'm good. A fixed mindset person's goal in school is to look smart, where a growth mindset person's goal is to just learn. Have you ever had that kid? Is this right? Is this right? Right? They just need to be right. They don't need to learn. A fixed mindset person does not value effort. Where a growth mindset person says, the more effort I give, the more I'll learn. Well, if you're trying to look smart, It should be easy, shouldn't it? When I work hard at school, it makes me feel like I'm not very smart. That's what a fixed mindset person says. Where a growth mindset person says the harder you work at something, the better you'll be. One of those is a life lesson that'll help no matter what. And I think it's growth. How many of you had really smart kids who give up when it's hard? Yeah. Or they want the easy way out. Like they're very bright, very capable, but you give them something that's challenging because some gifted session told you you should, and then they go, I just want to circle the answers. Like, where's the multiple choice? They just want the easy way because they want to look smart. Not every smart kid is fixed mindset, but we have some. Have you ever seen a kid who has never been challenged? They're so smart, they ace everything, and everybody gives them accolades. We say, oh, good job, you made 100. You get a sticker, you get a star, you get an award. They're the kids at the end of the school year when you hand out awards, they're like, oh, I'm so tired of coming up here. Thanks. They're so used to being the smartest person in the room that then they go off to college. They get a really hard class. And you know what they want to do? They do want to quit. They call up their mamas and they're like, I don't like it here. I want to go home. Where it's easy, where I'm the smartest. Because we never challenged them. When we give kids over and over stickers, stars, and 100s all the time and never challenge them to put in more effort and think harder, we're sending smart kids off to fail. So we have got to think about growth mindset and where it gets us. Here's the thing. When a fixed mindset person has failure, they want to quit. When a growth mindset person fails, they go, well, now I know what not to do. Let me try again. I have to tell you, my youngest son was visually impaired. He sees 2200 up close and far away. And he had some wonderful elementary teachers who taught him work and effort. That's going to make the difference. And he knew when he did a math problem, it would take him 3 times longer than everyone else because he also struggled in understanding because he didn't have the visual awareness and everything that was going on. But he would do it because he knew the more effort he put in, the more reward he would get out. He learned a great lesson. The harder he worked, he would get there. I do some kids a disservice by scaffolding too much. Or they look puzzled. We ask a question, they look at you, and you're like, who would like to help her? Who would like to help her? We never want them to struggle. And we always complain about those lawnmower parents who are mowing down the weeds and making it easy for them. But we're swoop and save teachers. We're like, ooh, she looks stressed. I'm going to save her. But everybody should experience struggle. Because struggle is where you learn to put in effort. And when you put in more effort and you're successful, that is an amazing feeling. Do I have any people in here who run for fun? Okay, there are a couple of you. If I'm running, you should follow. That's all I've got to say, right? But run for fun people know something called the runner's high. Am I right? That runner's high is that place you put in your head where you think, I can't get any further than that, but I'm going for it. And can I get there? And can I get there? And you're so tired, but you want to get to that point. But when you get there, the endorphins are released. And you feel like you could do anything. You can run further, you can do more, because you now have a release of endorphins because you got further than you thought you could. Now, I've never experienced that runner's high. But I did experience it while writing this book in a different way. Because there was a point where I had done all the research, I had made all the note cards, I had a plan, and my husband came in and it was about 10:30 at night and he said, I'm going to bed, what are you doing? And I was like, I have to put something on paper. I don't know if I could write this book. And he said, yet? Growth mindset? And I'm like, oh. And then he went to bed. And finally, I started writing. And I worked on my paper, my chapter, until 5 in the morning. So from 10:30 at night to 5 in the morning, I finally had a plan. And I had words, and they were flowing together, and they looked good, and it felt good, and I knew what direction we were going to go. And that moment, you would think I would be dead dog tired, 5 in the morning all night long. No, I was on the runner's high. I wanted to wake my husband up and go, look, read this. But that would be mean. But I actually had a hard time falling asleep because I had so much energy. That accomplishment, when something's really hard and you think you can't, but then you push through and break through, that feeling is something every kid in your class deserves to feel. And I think we do kids a disservice when we don't let them struggle enough to feel that feeling. Now, don't get me wrong. You shouldn't look at your kids and go, well, I went to this session about struggle. Just work it out, baby. It's going to feel good after you get there. He ain't like that. You got to be there to give them encouragement, to tell them what they're doing right, to praise them on, to push them harder, just like a coach. You are actually an athletic coach of the brain and of the soul, to convince them to push harder than they thought they could. And so with growth and fixed mindset, I think it's important not just to do the work to get them there, but to acknowledge to them that there are 2 types of mindsets. Teaching kids, even in kindergarten, growth and fixed mindset, and what it looks like and sounds like and feels like so they can recognize it. In fact, if I were reading books to little kids after I'd taught growth and fixed mindset, I might have them identify characters. Are they fixed or growth mindset? How would the story be different if they had a different mindset? I might also do that in literature, middle school, high school teachers. In history, middle school, high school teachers. Abraham Lincoln, we all teach Abraham Lincoln. And you know what kids come out of elementary school knowing? He had a tall hat. He's on the penny. He got a long beard. Lived in a log cabin because we built them out of pretzels. But in reality, Abraham Lincoln had lots of failures before he had success. That's what I want him building out of pretzels. He had lots of failures before success. We so often in this day and age talk about success, success, success. I want kids to know failure, failure, failure comes before success, and that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. That means you're learning what not to do. And so if I can help them do that, they can handle anything. They can handle anything. And this is a recursive process. And I have to tell you guys, when I spend less time on this subject from now on. In other words, I don't like math anymore. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to try to cheat the next time. That way I look smart. Or do I work harder from now on because studying helps me get where I'm going? Right? The thing is, school was created around a fixed mindset mentality. If you think about it, we sticker and star who learns their multiplication tables first, who's read the most books, who's the valedictorian, who's the smartest, who's the best out of everybody. Growth mindset tells you you should not be measuring your own worth against someone else's. You should be looking from where you started to where you are. So all those stickers and star charts, I would much rather kids graph their own learning. Here's where I started. This is what I know. Here's my accomplishments. Instead of seeing my star at the bottom and yours at the top. Reinforces, you're not smart in this. Just quit. Just quit. And it also reinforces the kid at the top of the list. I'm so smart. Didn't even have to try. I want to know what effort you put in to take this test. Great question to ask. High school teachers at the end of every test. Question is, how did you study for this test? What would you do different if you could take this test again. That's metacognition. Helps them get smarter about thinking. Fixed mindset people have a lower achievement. Now, I just said smart people sometimes are fixed mindset, but the problem is they're fixed mindset. They stay in their own silo. They only do what comes natural. They don't like to be pushed outside the boundaries. Don't believe me? Ask a teacher to go teach a subject they're not used to teaching. We're like, I don't want to teach that one. It's math. It's 5th grade math. You passed college. Right? You got this. Or give them a piece of technology, unless they're babies and they were born with it. The rest of us are like, well, I can't make it work. So we quit too. We go fixed mindset. My goodness, you went into a profession where you get to see the answers before you teach other people. You must like to look pretty smart. Teachers don't like to not know the answers. I'm going to encourage you to not know the answers on purpose. Because kids need to know what to do when you don't know the answer. Instead of you always having the answer for them, and they think you are some extra special person. I know you like it there. But reality is more learning happens when you say, I don't really know. Let's figure this out together. That's where real learning happens. So getting them there, and by the way, it's reciprocal, it's recursive. It goes back and forth over and over because they keep doing the same thing. So I encourage you to take the time to teach them. Teach kids what growth mindset is all about. Teach them that it's not that they're not smart, it's their thinking. By the way, have you ever heard of Class Dojo? They have tons of growth mindset videos that will help little kids. If you're in high school, there are lots of YouTube videos about growth mindset and thinking that you can actually show kids and then have them write open prompt on it. Or you can simply start asking kids, do they understand how people become smart? If they think they're born with being smart, we're doing it wrong. They should see their brain like a muscle, and it has to be worked hard if it's going to get bigger. It's going to get better. Helping them get there. And then share your journey. If over these 2 days, if we have not said it enough, let me repeat it one more time. Share your journeys. Share your struggles. Share when you're trying to learn something and re-emphasize work and strategies and help from others and how you get to where you're going. That will help kids understand. The more they hear. In fact, there's research that says you don't have to actually experience the struggle to learn from it. If you hear stories of people like you identify and you can draw upon that. So what does a growth mindset look like? It means kids think they can succeed. And when they learn, and when they struggle, they learn. And they believe what they'll get better at. So walls and halls, how are you showing it? This is one of the schools I worked with, we adopted a Dory theme. If you've not met anyone with a growth mindset, meet Dory. It doesn't matter how hard it gets, she just says, keep swimming, right? So we, helped kids learn about the brain. And when things got hard, we would just look at them and say, keep swimming. Keep swimming, you got this. And that was our theme. Had a high school teacher listen to this talk, and he said, I don't have a lot of time. I teach Algebra 1. There's a lot of responsibilities there. I can't really deviate from the schedule. But I can do this. He made a poster at the back of his room that said, yet. And every time, he believed words had power. And he said every time a kid said a fixed mindset phrase, he made them get up, rephrase it in a growth mindset way, and touch the yet poster. Yeah? Because words have power. And eventually, when kids say a fixed mindset statement like, I'll never lose weight, then in the back of their brain they hear the word, yet. I can't lose weight yet. And so those words creep into your brain and they have power. So encouraging your kids to do this. And the great thing was, this high school teacher said the best part of it was the fact that once I taught them this and then I had them do it a few weeks, they became their own yet police. I didn't have to do anything. All the other kids caught them and made them go touch the poster. And nothing makes a high school Algebra 1 teacher happier than not have to do that kind of thing. And so he was happy. If you're teaching younger kids, PBS, Sesame Street, these are my two favorite. One is about trying and one is about working hard. That's Bruno Mars. And I can't remember her name. There you go. There you go. And gotta love a good president. If at first you don't succeed, you are normal. Kids have gotten the wrong message. They think that you're supposed to get it right the first time. And if not, you can't do it. Quit. Do something else. But no one great at something did it without any struggle at all. Have your kids start answering these questions. What mistakes did you make that taught you something? What's hard thinking did you do today? What can you do to help improve your weak areas? Those are great exit tickets for metacognition. You like this kind of thing? On my website for free, you can print out this learning journal. And it simply walks them through their weaknesses and their strengths and their mistakes and how to get better. First attempt in learning, right? Failure. Okay, we're testing out the sound. Let's see how it rolls. Uh-oh. Why would it all come in and then it's gone?
Just my left one.
This is a really powerful video and you can hear it. That's exciting. Wherever it goes. It's, oh, okay. Yeah. It's on headphones.
Big.
Okay. So everybody get up. You need to find a partner. We're going to play a little game. Now, I know you were like, I was just in nap mode, lady. We're going to play a little game. You need a partner, and you're going to have to move around. So get out of your rows. Get out of your rows. Get in the front. We're going to play 21. I know right now you're thinking, doesn't she know gambling is not good? Not that kind of 21. You're going to be my model. So we're going to show everybody what to do. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You decide who's first, who's second. You want to be first or second?
Second.
Second. She's a smart teacher. She doesn't know what we're doing. She's like, I'm not going to be first.
I'm not a teacher.
What do you do?
I'm a fundraiser.
Okay. So I'm going to be first. She's going to be second. We are simply going to count to 21. Goal is the person who gets to 21 is the winner. So here's how it works. I'm first. I can say 1 or 1, 2. Those are my two choices. So I'm going to say 1, 2. Then she's going to follow that with either 3 or 3, 4. So 1, 2.
3.
4, 5,
6,
7,
8, 9,
10,
11,
12, 13.
14, 15.
See what she did? She was trying to count in her head. Don't let her cheat like that. It's got to be fast paced. So she said 15, 16,
17.
18, 20, 21. I'm the winner. Look at her. She was like, I thought I was so smart. So I'm the winner. She's the... Where's your Christian heart? She didn't win yet. She will now be my cheerleader. She will follow me around and cheer for me as I play another winner. Okay? And we're going to play that until we are head to head with 2 people. So, go. Anything?
Can you go this punching down?
Okay.
That's the bell.
Test, test, test. Yeah.
That was weird. It started playing on it, didn't it?
We have to go to the internet.
Just gonna talk about it.
That'll work good. Got it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just noticed that when we came in, that we didn't have a reserve for the projector. Nothing like that.
Okay. I'm making you work for it today. Why is it not duplicating? It's not duplicating.
You want to duplicate the screens?
Oh well. Where are my winners? Where are my winners? Winners! Okay, winners come down front. Winners come down front. Yeah, he's back. Okay, I got this one. Do I have any other winners back there? Okay, come on up. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 winners. 3 winners. Any other winners? You're a winner? Okay, so you're going to play. Oh, whoop. I got another one? Okay, so the 2 of you. Okay, you can be back there. So the 2 of you are going to play really quick. Are you a winner too? Okay, come here. No, come here. You're going to play right here. Right here. Who else? You're a winner? Come on. And play. Go. Play. And you're going to wait 1 second. Where's my winner? Right there. Right there, here.
I still Nine,
11,
12,
13,
14.
15.
All right.
17.
Okay, I'm here. All right, good. You're okay. Okay, wait it out. Go.
Would you like to go first? 2. Got 6. 10, 11.
Mike. We get up here then.
Good job.
Okay. All right, so who do I have? She's so stressed because she's not a math teacher. I'm not even trying to win. I'm trying not to win. You can count. You don't have to be a math teacher to play this game. Tell me your name. Lori. Becky. Okay, come on up. All right, who's going to go first?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Good.
She knows the trick.
Yep. 16.
No, she said 14.
Oh, sorry, 15.
Oh, she didn't. She said 15.
15.
Oh,
That's what I
okay.
thought. 16.
17, 18,
19.
20, 21.
And by the way, you just won $21.
Some of you were like, if I'd known we were winning, I would have played harder. All right, let me find my little mouse. I think we're going to work now. Okay, moving on. I know. So I have to tell you, this is a great story. This kid's name is Stephen Clonch. It's a TED Ed. You can look it up. It talks about obstacles. And he was born with an atrophy, and so he has a disability, but he plays basketball. And he talks about how he came home he talks about, Jim Abbott. Anyone know that baseball player? Jim Abbott, and how he came home from school and he said, the kids won't let me play baseball because Jim Abbott only had one arm. And he said, the kids won't let me play baseball. And the dad said, why won't they let you? Because I only have one arm. And he said, no, it's not because you only have one arm. It's because you suck at baseball. And so Jim Abbott's dad started practicing with him, and he became one of the best pitchers, even with one arm. He just had to practice differently than others. And so the child goes on to say that he plays basketball and that he oftentimes walks in and people think he can't play basketball. So when they're playing the games, they cover the other team players. They barely cover him. They're really soft. And he said, I make 3 points. Nobody thinks this one-armed, one-legged whitey can make any points. And he said, before you know it, the coaches are yelling at their players, and then they start double teaming him. And he said he got the most valuable player award in his team, and he learned that you got to overcome obstacles, and that everybody has an obstacle, and you got to learn to overcome it. And you can hear it. It's somewhere back behind the stage. It's playing right now. So I think it's an excellent example for our kids about growth mindset and being able to overcome obstacles. And his name is Stephen Clonch, Clonch with a C. definitely look it up because we kind of lost our momentum, but we won $21. So, all right. So let's do. Don't yawn out loud. Let's take a quick break. It's awful warm in here. You guys probably need to go to the bathroom. I've got you up and moving. Now you're going. So let's take a 10-minute break and come back at 2 minutes after 1. I'm going to start, and it's going to get really, really good. I'm going to switch to the handheld. It might be a little bit louder, but at least I don't think I'll cut out near as much. So maybe that'll help. And if we could make it just a little bit cooler in here. I know some people are parked up, but some of us are feeling a little warm. All right. So I got a lot of technology going on over here. Let's hope it all comes together. We've missing about half people. See, this is why I don't give breaks. They are not coming back. They're going to be gone till that 4 o'clock. Have to tell you guys, you are the sweetest group. I just had a wonderful man come and give me, he said, I don't have an apple, but I do have nerds. And this will make my heart so happy when I'm sitting on the plane and we're stuck on the tarmac and I'm like, oh, I got nerds. So that will be awesome. So I want to help kids learn to turn their failure into success. I want to help them work harder to be who they need to be to make it in the world that they're facing. And that's a hard job. Oh my goodness. The reality is you guys are called on to do so much more than most people every day of the week. Because you can't just be great on Tuesday, right? You got to show up and be great every day because you don't know when that kid is going to need that lesson. You don't know when it's your opportunity to be just that one. And I get it. I was in the classroom. The struggle is real, right? Hashtag. It is real. And what we do every day, there are days we think, welcome to Walmart. It's got to be easier than this. Like, would you like fries with that? There's an easier way to make a living. Burnout is a real deal problem. And so we got to take care of ourselves as well as taking care of kids. And so we talked about the kids for the first half. And the last half, I want to talk to you about you. Now, the reality is, most people that become teachers, oh, I said I wasn't going to cut out, are caretakers. And you know what they say about caretakers? They take care of everybody but themselves. So when they asked me to do this, I know there's someone in this room that needs to hear this message. Because every time I give this message, there's somebody that says, it was me. I needed to hear this. I needed to be reminded of this. This is, look, she already knows. She's like, it's me. It's me. Oh, what's happening? Oh, I got to transition. We're going to get out on time. No worries. Oh, I got to transition. Love it. So on the to-do list, I have to tell you that you're going to have to stop waiting for Friday. There's something called the happiness advantage. Sean Anker talks about it, and he says that Dedra's going to have to end this slideshow and fix her technology. Love it. So he says that there's something called the happiness advantage. And he said in America,
When I get the room with the air conditioning that works, I'll be happy then. And he says, actually, the brain works more productive and more energetic if you'll be happy right now. In whatever situation you are in, you were called to be there. Be happy right where you're at, doing what you're doing, in the room, with the kids, with the bank account where it's supposed to be. It is all in the big plan. And so you gotta hold on to that and feel happy about that. And so if you can adjust your brain, you can do it. So I'd like you to make a commitment right now to retrain your brain, because retrain your brain, because you're going to have to make the choice no matter what situation you're in. Gotta think through this. It's hard when you guys are staring at me. A lot of things this afternoon, and you're going to see dozens of things you want to start doing. Don't try them all at once. Decide on the first thing you're going to try. Commit to making it happen. Act in the way that makes it happen. Have success, and then repeat with something new. You can't redevelop your whole life based on a PowerPoint presentation done in an hour. That's not going to happen. So instead of saying 47 things, start with just the few. Because I believe that teachers have the hardest job. And we are called to be so much more than we even think is possible most days of the week. And so I think we have to take care of ourselves, and I wanted to remind you to take care of yourselves, because if you take care of yourself, you'll be there for them. Airline attendants, I see them every week, and they tell me every week to give myself oxygen before helping children. I am here today to remind you to give yourself oxygen before helping children. And the first thing I think we have to do is we have to turn the quiet up. How many of you have had someone from outside the school building, like doesn't work there, come to see you during the school day? And what do they say? How do you do this? Right? They're like, oh, it's crazy in here. And you're like, what? Feels normal. And I didn't realize it until I moved from my classroom of teaching middle schoolers to teaching teachers in my district, pre-K through 12. What a difference a little quiet time makes. I used to come home and I was like, don't look at me, don't talk to me, don't touch me, I don't want anything. And then the energy level changed when I started teaching teachers, because teachers don't need every single thing from you every single moment. They don't touch you all the time. There's not explosions of chaos going on, and you're not having to answer 47 questions in 47 directions. And so then I realized I had so much more energy, and my husband was a little annoyed. Because I was like, how was your day? And he's like, good. And I was like, come sit by me. And he's like, why? Like, what are you doing? I had so much more energy. What we do every day is exhausting. I beg you to find moments to turn the quiet up. To be still and know God, right? I encourage you, especially if you're like my mom and you're not a morning person. Some of us know that walk. Go to school 15 minutes earlier. Get in your room, lock the door, keep the lights off, because otherwise people come for you. And then just have a seat in your room and see in your head you teaching those lessons, reaching those kids, and giving them all the things that they need. Just take 5 minutes to be still and be there. I think it'll make a huge difference. I mean, we live in a road runner society. We
speed read. We speed walk. We speed date. We are always looking for a faster, better way to do it. And with AI, automated intelligence, there are faster ways, and it's coming fast. And that means you'll do more. And I'm telling you, do less. Slow down and just be still. I usually do an exercise, but I want to get you out on time, where I have you stare at this balloon for 30 seconds. And I ask you to think of only the balloon. And at the end of the 30 seconds, most teachers will tell me this is what they heard. You guys are on this side. That's your brain. And I'm going to just encourage you to find those moments in the school day, before the school day, after the school day, but find those moments to be still so that you can hear the messages you need to hear, so that you can see the things you won't see if you're always running. I mean, you know it. You don't get bathroom breaks, right? You have to run and squeeze it in. And you have to eat like this. I mean, elementary teachers, how long do you have for lunch? Your lunch. Yeah, 12 minutes. It's exactly 12 minutes. We know how long it takes to get them in the line, and we know how long it takes to go and pick them up. 12 minutes. We are not still near enough. You got to find your moments in whatever way that you can. Take it where you can get it. Gotta be there. But I'd like you to take a bird's eye view of your life today. Look from up above and think about where you're wasting time that you could spend on things you value. Because if I'm asking you to slow down, that's just one more thing you got to do. So we got to figure out where you're wasting time. Some of us, it's at the end of the day. We say we're going to stay and grade those papers, and before you know it, you've cleaned out the top drawer of your desk, and you've got an organizational system. You've sorted the paper clips by size, but you haven't graded a paper. Some of you, it's at home. You got home, your kids loaded the dishwasher, but they loaded it wrong. So you're getting all the dishes out, you're putting them in there right. Mine was putting the dishes up. When my kids would put the dishes up, I had dishes that were different size, like the plates, from different sets. And I liked the certain ones on the bottom and then the next. And so I would redo what they had just done. I also like my towels folded a certain way. And if you don't fold them right, then I was going to refold them. And one day it struck me, as I was refolding my towels that someone had folded and put away for me, but my kids and my husband were out in the backyard playing football. And I looked and I thought, what is wrong with this picture? Will life end if these towels are not folded in this direction? And I've actually had a teacher come up to me later and go, yes, it will. The second coming happens then. She said, Dedra, if you don't fold them right, they don't fit in the cabinet. I said, well, let me just ask you a question. Do people take showers at your house on a daily basis? She's like, yes. I said, so if the towels are all in there wrong and the door is kind of shut but not really shut, and you just kick it a couple of times, by tomorrow, this same time, less towels? She goes, yeah. I said, day later, less towels? Yeah. Saturday, you get to fold the towels? Yeah. And you fold them the way you want to. Let go of those little things that are sucking the life out of you. Some of us are really uncomfortable right now because you have OCD. And I've just asked you to redo everything in your life and make it messy. I'm going to tell you, if you need it for peace, then do it. But don't give your life up, because no one ever walked by a casket and said, man, she had the best folded towels? Your kids are not going to be crying, going, who will fold the towels? Right? Keep it in perspective. Take a bird's eye view. Where are you letting time slip away from you? This slapped me upside the head really big. This is your dot. Each dot is 36 months, 3 years. A 90-year-old human's life by dots. If you're 30, there's your dot. If you're 60, there's your dot. Where are you? You only have so many dots. What do you want to... I know it is depressing. Taking an ugly turn here today. Why wait? Get out there and play football with your kids. Sit out on the porch and enjoy. Be that person for someone else. Don't let time pass you by. Sorry to depress you. There's lessons in the method that you choose. You control how you use your 24 hours. We all have the same 24 hours. If you're feeling like you don't have enough time, evaluate your 24 hours. And let me just tell you, typically you have about 1,800 minutes a week with kids. You have 1,800 minutes a week with kids. How are you choosing to use those minutes? Are you witnessing? Are you teaching subjects and not students? Are you organizing paper clips? Keep your eye on the prize. Make your minutes count. You only have so many when you're here. And I think those minutes should be creating a culture of happy. Now, some of you, you're thinking right now, I got a lot on my list. A lot of stuff I'm responsible for, a lot of stuff I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going to get the moments. I don't know if I'm ever going to make it. And now my dots are running out. I didn't know that earlier. Hard to see your life in dots, isn't it? So I'm going to ask you to make a list of all the things and people that wear you out. Right? Don't point to them if they're in this room. That would be rude. Right? But there are things that people have wronged you at your school 7 years ago. They took the good bookshelf out of your room and you've never forgiven them. They said something in a meeting that caused you to feel upset and you've never let it go. I'm going to challenge you to think about all the things that are sucking the happy out of your life. Is it people? Is it Band-Aids? Is it curriculum? Don't say kids, because then you need a new job. All the things that are stealing your joy. What are those things? Look at the person next to you. Don't say them if it's them. That doesn't make it better. Tell them the things that are stealing your joy every day at school, at work, at home. What is stealing your joy? Go. All right. You got those things listed, right? It could be the lack of funding for your school. It could be that your schedule is stressed. It could be that your curriculum is not the one that you love. It could be people. Hopefully it's not kids. I heard somebody say, "Nothing's stealing my joy." Dig deeper, honey. Because as much as I want to be Disney World every day, it's yeah, dig deep. There are some days that it's not Disney World. Or you sit in that meeting and that person shows up and they suck the life out of you. They don't care. They don't know anything. But just their presence can make you feel less joy. And then I'm going to challenge you. After you make that list, circle the things you actually have control over. More than likely, you're going to find most of the things that steal your joy you can't do anything about. So why are you letting it steal your joy? Learn to let it go. So she stole your bookshelf 7 years ago. I'm sure you found a place to put your books by now. Forgive those that have wronged you so that you don't lose your joy. And learn to live in the room you got because that was your purpose. That's where you were supposed to be. Don't let it steal your joy. You can't get to kids if you have no joy. You can't be Disney World if you have no joy. And it is no fun to get up every day if you have lost your joy. So we've got to keep our eye on the prize and stay with the joy. And when it comes to education, I think we do it wrong. We are so busy talking about the bad things that happen at school. We forget to celebrate the heroic things that happen every day. In your lunchroom, when you go to lunch, you probably start with a prayer. Am I right? But what if you ended with a heroic moment that happened this week? Something great that happened. Let's see the goodness that's coming out of these four walls. Instead of constantly talking about this kid, this problem, this thing. And I tell people all the time, are you whining or solving? You can talk about negative things if you're solving a problem. But if you're whining just to be whining, you're not doing anybody any good. You're losing your joy. So stay focused on your purpose. In fact, celebrate your success. I think 4-year-olds have it right. When they do something cool, when they do something lame, I don't care, they go, ta-da! And what do we all do? Right? Doesn't matter what it is. We clap. I want to remind you to have your ta-da moments because that's what gives us energy to go back at it when it's really hard. That's what gives us fuel to know what we're doing has a purpose. Celebrate your ta-das. So I'd like you to look at the person next to you, and I want you to tell them one great thing that happened either this year or last year. And by the way, when you finish, what do you got to do? Ta-da! So I want to hear it. Let me see it. Tell your person, great thing that happened in your classroom. Don't forget your ta-da. All right. Now, I saw some of you celebrating with a great big ta-da, and then I saw some of you going, this is lame, whatever, ta-da. Now, there are two types of ta-das that you need to take with you. There's the big one, ta-da. But if you're not feeling big or you're not feeling loud, then you can do what we call a mini. One finger, and you go, ta-da. So let's practice. Ta-da! So let's see a big one. Ta-da! And let's go with a little one. Ta-da! So now you have a new thing to carry back with you to your school, to remember the good things, to focus on the glory, to see those moments. You're going to ask everybody, what's your ta-da for this week? What's your ta-da for this week? And when we talk about school, we have to remember 2 goods for 1 bad. Because I promise you, whether we say it or not, there are good things happening in those classrooms and those halls every single day, and that's why we do what we do. So remember to have your ta-da moments. Also, to stay healthy and happy and be there for those kids, you're going to have to surround yourself with the right people. Right? Now, I have to tell you, you're in a blessed place. Everybody has the same mission, but not everybody has the same attitude all the time. Daniel Wong talks about 4 people. These people, before you worry about what everybody else is, you got to look at yourself. Right? You got to look in the mirror. So let's decide who you are. When you're in a meeting and somebody has an idea and they put it on the table, are you the but person? You know, the one that goes, but that'll never work. The but person. You can add an extra T if you want. Then there's those people, when you bring an idea, you bring it to the meeting, you put it on the table, and they're the yeah, but people. They're going, yeah, that's a good idea. I'd love to do it. But I don't think our administrator will go for it. I don't know if we have the funding. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of work. I don't know if everybody will buy on. But yeah, I'd like to, but probably won't. That's the yeah, but people. They're really but people in disguise. Just saying. Then they're the people. You bring an idea, you put it on the table, and they just do this. They got nothing else for you, just That's it. And then there are the yes and people. You bring an idea, you put it on the table, and they go, yes, and we can get the funding this way. I know we can convince the pastors in the area to come forward and help us do this. We can make a plan. We can get this started. I think we can get this going within like 2 weeks. Let's do it. Those are the yes and people. Who are you in those meetings? Because I would bet if you were picking your team members, you'll pick the yes and people to be on your team every day. But you got to evaluate who you are. Before you worry about who you're surrounding yourself with, you got to think about who you are. Then you got to stay away from the wrong days. You know, they drink the haterade daily. Had a teacher yell out one day, she said, and they eat the hater tots too. They suck the life out of everything. Now, don't go back to your administrator and say, I need a new team. I'm supposed to surround myself with the right people, and these people are drinking the haterade. You got to work with who you got to work with, but you don't have to live there. You don't have to spend all your time there, and you need to find a balance. The wrong days, they want you to be frozen in fear. They want you to not excel because it makes them look better. They always have something to say about everything. I'm telling you right now, all of us are guilty of having the wrong days in our life when we shouldn't. You got to look vertical and horizontal. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you giving your time to? Who are you giving your energy to? I get it. I love Steel Magnolias too. When she says, if you don't have anything nice to say, come sit by me. Right? I get it. But that's not going to give you the joy. And you're going to need the joy to grow those disciples. So the wrong days, be careful. Surround yourself with the right days. They are the people who motivate you to be a better you. They are the people who celebrate when good things happen to you. When you get a new car, they go, let's go for a ride. They don't go, how much is the insurance? When you get a new house, they go, this is so cool. They don't go, I bet it's going to take a lot of energy to clean this. Right? The right days have your back. When the fur's flying and people are talking, they go, you don't get her. She wasn't trying to say that. Let me tell you what she was trying to do. They've got your back. Who are they in your life? And where are they? Are you giving them enough time? Are you giving them enough energy? Sometimes your right they isn't on your team or on your hall, but they're in your building. So you go find them. You seek them out. You have conversations. You send each other text messages. You show each other ideas. You lift each other up in the hard journey that we have taken on, because that day has got your back. So surround yourself with the right days. I've told you this one so I can move on. Be fully present wherever you are. Teachers, hear me. This is hard. You come to work and a kid's going, I'm so glad you're here. I've got problems. And you're like, you got problems? You don't have bills to pay. What, are you kidding me? I've got problems. Let me tell you about my problems. You got to come in fully present for kids, because a third grader who's having a problem with their best friend is a real deal, right? In middle school, there are 12 best friends that they're having problems with. But it's real to them, and you got to be fully present. You can't carry your baggage from home into your classroom. Same goes if the opposite way. If you're a rock star teacher, you're there for everybody. You need to help? I'll help you pick a book. You need help with tutoring? Let me help you with tutoring. You've got a problem with friends? Let's get them over here. Let's have a consultation. We'll pray with them. You do everything. You're on every committee. You're 110%. But then when you go home, you got nothing left. You got to balance your life. You got to be fully present. When you walk through that door, you got to be there for the people that you will live the rest of your life with. The people that will surround you in your later dots. You got to be there for them. And so sometimes that means adjusting your brain. Now, I had a rule. Well, okay, I'll be honest, a little confession here. So when I was teaching middle school, there was a lot of stress going on with middle school kids. And I found a coping mechanism. Wouldn't be any of your coping mechanisms. It was called Wine Wednesday. It might have been Monday, and Tuesday, and Wednesday. And so then I realized I needed a new strategy, because if I didn't want to be committed to another meeting every week, I was going to need to come up with another coping mechanism. So, my best friend who taught in the same building but in another grade, we had a talk and we were like, yep, this is a problem. We got to fix this. So we made a new rule. And the rule was, on the way home from school, we would pray and strategize about all those kids that were wearing us out, that had us deep in thought and deep in worry. We prayed all the way home. But when we got home, pulled in the driveway, that we agreed to leave them in the car. And then when we got back in the car the next morning, we picked it back up, we prayed, we worried, we strategized all the way back to school. So we were there for the kids. But what that left me with was being fully present for my family. Now, I'm not going to lie. Some days were easier than others. There was one particular day that I was driving home, praying that the answers would come. But the tears came streaming. Because this kid was experiencing things that no 12-year-old should have to experience. And my 47 minutes with him every day wasn't enough that was getting there, and I needed help. And so as I pulled up in the driveway, I just sat there. My husband looked out the window. He eventually came over to the window. I rolled it down. He said, "You coming in?" I said, "I can't leave it in the car today." And he goes, "It's okay. I'll get the wine." You got to be fully present everywhere you are. Your children, your husband, your spouse, your cats, your dog, your plants, your community, they deserve the best you they can get. So you got to balance your life and be fully present. I actually put a note on my mirror in my car that said, "Be fully present. Somebody in there needs you today." And the last thing I did when I got out of the car was I looked at that note, and it reminded me to reframe myself, to get myself fully present. Here are some tips that'll help you. Make an early bedtime one day a week. Now, tip for this, don't sleep with those cell phones near your bed. Because every time I plan on having an early bedtime, and then I set that phone down, and then I hear, bing! I'm like, is that from my administrator? Are we having school tomorrow? Is that something that I wanted to know? And then you pick it up, and before you know it, you've checked your messages, you've checked your emails. Now you're on Facebook. Facebook leads you to YouTube. And before you know it, you're watching an old episode of Friends. And you're going to bed later than you normally go to bed. So move that phone. I actually plugged in my phone. It's by my garage door in my kitchen on the cabinet. And when I walk in, I plug it in. And if it bings, I hear it. But it doesn't own me. And when I go to sleep, I go to bed. And I know the young people are thinking, how do you get up in the morning without an alarm clock? They have these things, they're called alarm clocks. You don't have to have that phone. But you find a way to get that rest you need. And one day a week, just one, play beat the bus, right? You don't really beat the bus, but at your scheduled time, get the heck out of Dodge, right? Don't clean off your desk. Don't clean out a cabinet. If you need to fill the bag that you're dragging forth that you're not going to use, fill it ahead of time. But when your time is up, one day a week, go. If you're that person who stays till 5 or 6 every single day, pick a day a week and say, that's the day I'm leaving, right? Be fully present. Find your little bits of joy. What brings you joy? Some people tell me, I like to read. And then I say, what's the last book you read? And they said, do professional development books count? No. Some people say, I like to take long walks. I say, when was the last time you took a long walk? Looking for the tech guy count? No. What are your little bits of joy? Look at the person next to you and tell them what you like to do for fun and when was the last time you did it. And by the way, make this appropriate for mixed company. Go. Find a stopping point. All right. Some of us, towel folding, dish sorting people, are going to need to schedule those little bits of fun to make sure we do them. What I realized when I did my inventory, there were lots of things I like to do. I could make a list. But when it came to naming the last time I took the time to do them, it was hard to remember. Because I was always busy taking care of everybody. My kids, my school, my church, my husband, my children, my dog, my mother, my father. Everybody was on the list but me. If that's you, schedule it. Make a reminder that says, where's your little bits of joy? Make it happen. This quote spoke volumes to me. I cannot do everything and still have everything. I need to let go of some pieces. Not everybody identifies with this, but I was the I'll do it girl. My list was long. I encourage you, when you get home, make a list of all the things you're involved in, from school to church to community to home. Star the things you love, circle the things you have to do. Anything on the list that doesn't have a circle or a star, reevaluate. Because if it's not your love and it's not your requirement, take it off the list and do less so that you can take care of you. You can't do everything and have everything. You got to let go of some pieces. If that's your quote, stay on it. Learn to say no. And by the way, learn to say no. This was hard for me. Somebody taught me a really good quote. Who needs to hear it? So here it is. Somebody asks you to do something you know you're already doing too much. You know you don't want to do it, but you don't want to say no. You say, I am so sorry. Oh, I like that. It's difficult for me to do something for you. No, I'm so sorry. My schedule won't allow it. I'd love to, but my schedule won't allow it. It kind of takes the onus off of you and gives it to your schedule. And everybody's like, damn that schedule, right? Not you, it's them, it's him, it's not your fault. But it kind of gives you an out. So for those of us that are overworked, pay attention to that quote. It helped me a lot. Now, if you call me later and I go, my schedule won't allow it, you'll know. The other thing that helps you is laughter. Now, we've spent 2 days and we've laughed. Laughing does something to the soul that you can't replicate. It decreases stress. It improves sleep. It helps your memory. It's contagious. And by the way, it can be faked. And you still get the same rewards. Contagious. How many of you can think of somebody's laugh right now that you've heard in your head? Like you can hear their laugh, right? Do you know what your partner's laugh sounds like? Turn to your partner. Fake it. Laugh right now. And as you hear your partner's laugh, do you realize you laugh harder because you can hear their laugh? Laughter has so many beneficial effects. So find time to laugh. And my goodness, you work in a school full of children. If you don't have something to laugh at, right? Don't laugh at them, laugh with them. It would be wrong. But I have to tell you, I am not ha-ha funny. I'm sarcastic funny, if you haven't picked up on that. So when sarcasm happens, I laugh hard. But my husband can tell me 20 jokes, and I'm like, that's funny. I can't laugh. I'm not a big laugher. But when I read the research on laughter, I realized I needed to do it. So I made a rule, because I'm all about rules, you can see. So when I got in my car and started my car, I made it a point to fake laugh. So, because honestly, when somebody told me, listen to people, can you think of somebody that laughs? And I thought, yeah, I can remember their laugh. And they were like, what is your laugh like? And I was like, I don't know what my laugh sounds like. So I had to fake it. And so every time I got in the car, I would start the car, I would laugh. The important thing is to not do that while other people get in the car with you. It worries them. You gotta laugh. And make many moments of meaning. Where can you build other people up? Gratitude and kindness are a boomerang. The more you do, it's like a ripple effect. It makes a difference. Do you give people random hugs? Do you go the extra mile? Do you give compliments just to build other people up? They actually say there is a lot of health benefit in giving a 5 to 7 second hug. Look at your partner. Let's count it out. Everybody count it out. Everybody. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005. There we go. Now, if somebody did not hug, there we go. Go find somebody that didn't hug. Now, I have to tell you, I don't do that so that you'll start an inappropriate relationship with someone you work with. I do it so you can see what a 5-second hug feels like, because it's 1,001, 1,002. Oh my goodness, this is awkward, right? Like, is this ever going to end? But the research says 5 to 7 seconds. And I'm going to give you an assignment. When you go home tonight, find a family member, a teenager in your family, a kid, your husband, your spouse, your dog, your cat, your animal, your plant, yourself, if that's what you need. But another living thing, 5 to 7 second hug. Your teenagers are going to thank me. Right? But make your dot count. When you can, get outside. Look up. Breathe. Find a place to let your brain recharge. Because I promise you, There are going to be bad days. There are going to be days like these. And so I'm going to challenge you not just to have a good attitude, but to already know what you're going to do when things go bad. What is your feel-good medicine? Some of us, it's watching that movie of teaching that makes you remember why you're a teacher. Some of us, we have a playlist of music that lifts us up spiritually and redefines us. Some people need to start a gratitude journal, just about school if you need to. Because did you know if you look for things to be grateful for, then your heart will be full and you will find more things to be grateful for. How many of you do that November Thanksgiving? Not really Thanksgiving, but do you see on Facebook where people write what they're thankful for every day of November? Yes? How many of you make fun of the people who write what they're thankful for every day of November? Yes. So the reality is that your brain looks for stressors because it wants to keep you alive. But if you are accountable to social media or a gratitude journal or a person every day for telling what you're grateful for, your brain will start seeking out things to be grateful for because it knows it's going to be accountable. So now your brain is not looking for as many stressors, it's looking for good things too. So it's actually a trick on your brain. My family, we played a game called high-low. At dinner, you had to say your high point and your low point. And by the way, when my kids became teenagers, I made the rule, playing high-low cannot be your low point. Because my son was like, playing high-low is my low point today. Zip it. Right? But recognizing the good points in your life every single day make a huge difference. Starting a gratitude journal is a great way to do that. I was having a particularly bad year one year, and I read The Gratefulness. It was back in the 90s when Oprah had a daily TV show. Some of the babies are like, what? Yeah, she had a daily show where she talked about things, and it helped you grow to be a better person. And so she talked about the gratitude journal, and I ran right out to Barnes & Noble and said, I need this gratitude journal Oprah's talking about, because I think it's going to help me. And they said, well, so did everybody else, and now it's on back order. We'll have it in 3 weeks. And so I got my book 3 weeks later, and I opened it up, and let me save you $14.95. It's an empty book with blank pages. You write what you're grateful for. No magic. Just a book. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're having a particularly hard year, to go back to your school. There is a spiral notebook some child has not picked up. Prop it on the chalkboard, 3 days, you've made it, done. Tear out the used pages, write school gratitude journal. Voila, I saved you $14.95. You should be grateful. Then, I want you to put your car keys underneath the grateful book in your desk. And every day at the end of the day, you'll be going, where am I? Oh, crap, it's the gratitude journal. You'll get it out. And before you take off that day, you got to write one thing you're grateful for. Some days you will write, I had the best lesson kids learned. God spoke to me. It was a wonderful day to be a teacher. And some days you'll write, Johnny was absent. It doesn't matter. Whatever you are grateful for, you are grateful for. Expect your obstacles and know how you're going to respond. That gratitude will make a huge amount of difference. Right? Just one. We started today, and I asked you to think of just one person who moved you, helped you, lifted you up when you needed them. There's actually a study that says you want to be happier? Practice gratitude. More than gratitude, tell people who you're grateful for that you're grateful. So every one of you thought of your just one. They say that you'll get twice as much reward if you'll go tell that person that they were your just one. So I'm going to challenge you today to go back and find that person, social media, old school, somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and give that message of you are my just one. Because you want your kids to come and tell you you were their just one. Let's repay it. Let's move it forward. Because this is a hard journey. But you have 1,800 minutes with kids. And I know you are their just one, whether they ever tell you or not. But the other reason is because you will get twice as many happiness endorphins if you'll take the time to reach out to that person and show your gratitude. So just one. The last thing I want to remind you is all of this sounds really good. There were a lot of things I mentioned and you were like, yep, yep, yep. Several of you were taking pictures. I'm going to ask you to not just walk out of here and use the energy of a keynote to spark you, but to recheck yourself. Do you get paid once a month? So once a month when you get your paycheck, you don't forget that day, right? Stop and reevaluate. How am I doing on the work-life balance thing? How am I doing with saying no? How am I doing with letting go of things that are sucking my joy out? How am I doing at celebrating the tadas? Because you got to take care of you if you're going to get to them. You can't build disciples if you're tired, worn out, bitter, struggling every day to come through the door. You got to be on your A game. You got to be there. And I promise if you start small, it'll happen. I actually have this little link right here. And by the way, we're going to send you all of this. But this little link right here will take you to 21 tips, and I would take 21 days for each tip, or a tip a day. But it'll help you reframe your work-life balance if you're struggling with that. Because we all get tired and uninspired. Even with the best church, the best pastor, the best sermon, we wake up some days tired and uninspired. But again, our kids are all on a journey, and we're building disciples. And to do that, I got to see them. I got to know when they need me. I got to be there, and I got to be on my A game. Their journey is not easy. How many of you know a kid who is experiencing life much harder than their age should ever allow? Their journey is not always easy, and I think it's our job to be their light, to teach them more than subjects, to build them into the best they can be, and to be the light, to show them the way down that difficult journey. Because this walk is not an easy walk for some. It's harder than others. But everybody struggles and fails. And we need somebody there to help us get to where we're going. Have to tell you that some of them, I wonder if I can change the outcome. There's some days, some kids, you have to let them leave your room, and you think, oh, I hope you come back tomorrow. Now see, I wasn't blessed to be in a faith-based school. I went to school in a public school. And I could have used a faith-based school where teachers taught me more than subjects, because my home life was a hot mess. I was born to teenage parents who came from families on both sides of alcohol and drug abuse. My parents were kids themselves, 16 and 17. And in fact, the only reason I'm even here is because My mother climbed out the window the night before she was supposed to get an abortion. Now, my parents didn't have the tools to be adults at 16 and 17. And they had a lot of baggage from their own past. So when I came to you and I sat down in your classrooms, sometimes I could just do all I could do just to sit there and look up, because the baggage was heavy. Sometimes there wasn't enough food. Sometimes there was an abundance of food. Sometimes there was chaos. Sometimes my mom was so depressed that I wasn't sure she'd be alive when I came home the next morning or the next afternoon. There was a lot of chaos. And I had 2 younger siblings, and I took care of them the best I could do. But when I walked in your room, I didn't always have a pencil. And some days I couldn't be excited about your great lesson. I just wanted to be where it was safe and be still. And sometimes I rolled my eyes and I had attitude, even though you were my safe space. It was how I walked. It was the only thing I knew. I remember telling a counselor in 10th grade as I was ditching class for I don't even know how many times, I just want to throw a glass at a brick wall. That's all I could say. I didn't know how to put into words what I was dealing with. I just knew my emotions were getting the best of me. When the bus dropped me off in the afternoon, I looked at my house and my stomach dropped because I didn't know what I was walking into. There were mornings I would go to school after calling the police on my dad and having him arrested right there on our porch. There were days I was counseling my mom on walking out and taking care of us. It was not an easy childhood. I missed a lot of school in high school. In elementary school, it was my safe place. In middle school, I was a little distracted. But by high school, the pressures were thick. I knew really what was going on a little bit deeper than I think I did as an early childhood kid. And some days I just couldn't sit in class. I remember driving to the public library instead of going into my classroom. And I would just sit all day, read books. It was better than taking one more pressure, one more thing. So I missed a lot of school. And when you miss a lot of school, then you become detached from school. And that feels like they're living a world and a life, and you're just kind of bopping in, bopping out. So 1 day a week slipped into 2 days a week, and before you knew it, I was absent so much, they stopped expecting me. And one day I decided, doesn't even matter. What's the point? And I dropped out of school. I didn't officially drop out. I just stopped going. And this is where, in my story, that just one should be waiting for me. That one teacher who said, "Where is that girl that didn't cause too many problems but wasn't very engaged?" During my 10th grade year, I didn't have a just one. Not saying my teachers were bad. I think they were overworked. I think they had too many kids. I think they were teaching class, teaching subjects. So nobody came and found me. In fact, it took my mom at least 2 months to realize I wasn't going to school anymore. And then she said, "Well, your brother gets off the bus midday from kindergarten. I guess you can save me some babysitting money." So I became his second mom. Now you can name this story. What happens to a girl in 10th grade who drops out of high school? I found the same errors that my parents had found. Drugs and alcohol to mask what was going on in my life. And before you know it, I was in the exact same position my mom was. See, teen pregnancy was a cycle in my family, and I had bought right back into that path. So there I was, pregnant, alone, no job, no school, no home, because my mom said I can't do one more thing. And a lot of people tell me, how did you make it? How'd you get out of that? See, it happened in a charity hospital. After 27 hours of labor, I was blessed with a baby boy. And as we were in that hospital room alone, I looked down at his big blue eyes and his pointy little head. And I said, "Do people love their ugly babies?" He pointed head, screaming, 27 hours labor. I was a baby. I was like, ooh. But then I looked at him and I thought, this is where this stops. I got to figure out how to do this differently. I got to find my way for you and for me. And so I started listening and watching. And when people would tell their kids they love them, I thought, oh, you're supposed to say you love them all the time, not just when it happens to come across. And when people would take care of their kids in a certain way, I would go, oh, is that what you're supposed to do? And I would follow their lead. And I worked my way into a church. And I drugged that baby, even though I got looks sometimes, into church. And I prayed, help me figure the way out of this. And I don't know how exactly, but perseverance and resilience finally kicked in. And I picked myself up and I took steps. And just like a lot of you in this room, my steps were sometimes sideways and sometimes forward. But eventually, I got to a point where I felt like I was making some momentum. And even though it was hard and it took a lot of effort, I was feeling like I can do more than I thought I could. I met a man who said, your child's my child. He said, your dream is my dream. You want to be a teacher? You want to be the just one for the kids like you? Let's do this. Let's figure it out. And through that, I was graced with the ability to have a great teaching career. And then I moved on to teach teachers. And there are times that I stand here and I think, how did I get right here? And I think, yes, I worked hard. Yes, I believed. But more than anything, I was put right here to remind you that you're somebody's just one. It's the only reason I would have left the classroom. Because I loved my classroom. I loved my kids. This is not my work. It's his. And if I can give you one message today, it is to take back that story of kids who struggle. Find them, build them into disciples, make their journey easier than mine, because they deserve it, and you are their just one. You know, I was asked to do this message, and I have to tell you, I do this message in a lot of places. And so often, I don't get to speak about faith. But I'm still there to deliver a message, because just one is just one. And so when Stephen asked me to talk to you about bringing your faith into your classroom, I knew I had faith, but I wasn't sure that I had the right to tell you to speak your truth. I hadn't felt like I had walked the walk well enough to be in the position to remind you. And I started thinking about our faith. And so oftentimes our faith is like this test tube. It's right here. And this is our classroom. And you have the freedom that I didn't in a public school. But I think so often we take our faith, this is where I wish I didn't do the handheld, and we put our faith in our classroom. Like this. But it can't do a lot of good like this. It can't just be that I've got a Bible quote on the wall. It can't just be that I pray when they ask me to. It's got to be deeper than that. Don't you agree? When I take my faith and I put it in my classroom, in every part of my classroom, it will influence my classroom and those kids to be more meaningful, to be deeper. And so the just one power that you have is like this glass of water, because it's not just one anymore. It's so much more. And so my message today, so much. Yesterday we talked about classroom management. Today we talked about helping kids build those soft skills that we can't see, touch, or feel, but we know they need. And then I ask more of you than most people ask in a professional development. I said, let's talk about you. Where are your holes? Where can you be better so that you can do better? So that you can take your faith and you can be healthy and you can drop it in so that your classroom is like this glass. And that's where I leave you guys today, with this message. And I hope a newfound energy to prioritize yourself so that you can be there for kids. Thank you.